Good morning, baseball fans. Sorry for the little delay there. Had a brief little interruption, technical difficulty, I guess you can call it. So we backed it up 15 minutes, no problem. Appreciate you all joining us. Obviously, this is our first update to our rankings for the Class 1A through 7A polls, and we will be releasing our inaugural Prep Baseball top Power 25 towards the end of the show. Man, it's we're 9 or 10 days in, and already seems like we're going in 1,000 different places. That's a great feeling. Obviously, we enjoy getting out, seeing games. Austin, you doing all right this morning? I know you're a little under the weather, but you doing okay nonetheless? I think you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
You got me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
all right, Austin, I think you're having some technical difficulties. You're really
okay, take
really,
over there.
There you go. Go ahead. We didn't hear you. Okay. All right. Yeah, we can't hear you. Austin's going to work on getting that corrected. Obviously, we just finished up our week in South Alabama at the Prep Baseball South Alabama Showdown. And it was a great week. Obviously, Thursday was brutally cold. We appreciate those teams working with us to get those games in on Thursday. Friday was a lot better, and Saturday was really nice. And we enjoyed being down in the Gulf Shores, Orange Beach area, Robertsdale, Volanta Park this past week. Had 20 teams there. Man, and that tournament just continues to grow and grow every year. As I mentioned, we had 20 teams there. We had a lot of teams come down from the north, coming down hoping for better weather. We got it on Saturday. Friday was okay, but Thursday, as I mentioned, was pretty brutal. We've already had 2 teams reach out to 2 quality programs that have reached out wanting to get in next year. So we're already tentatively, not now, we've got too much going on, but, looking forward to next year as well. That's, again, the first weekend of the year, kicked it off with the Kickoff Classic. We talked about that last week. This past week, the South Alabama Showdown. And then we've got another event we'll talk about as we get through the podcast. Paul Amorde, good morning, gentlemen. Saw Paul this weekend a couple times as I was covering UMS Wright. Manning swing looks good out of that leadoff spot for the Bulldogs. Had some couple big hits this week. Austin, let's test and see. Can you test to see if your mic's any better?
Yeah, you got me.
Yeah, I think we got you. Yeah. So, man, Austin, I've done a lot of the intro, but how you doing, man?
Good. Sorry, my computer's running. Sounds like an airplane. So my computer's slow. But yeah, we had the South Alabama Showdown, being able to hope to get down to warmer weather in the second week of the high school season. But I think we brought it with us, like we said last week. But got the games in, and it was a fun week of baseball. And like you mentioned, going over that in the Kickoff Classic, and then we got a special event coming up this week in Albertville, at the Sand Mountain Park. Small town showdown, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we're excited to. I think we're both going to get out to some games here in the next couple of weeks, and then I'll be heading north to Albertville and getting ready for the small town showdown.
Yep.
So I'll go ahead and get into our next segment. We got, obviously we talked about it over the past few weeks. If I can get it pulled up, or is it showing our?
Yes.
It's showing me. Our Prep Baseball shop that's now live. It's at shop.prepbaseball.com. I'm wearing a sweatshirt that I got off the website. Got a bunch of other things too as well. Got the new. I wore that black rope hat every day this past weekend, and then that's on the website as well. I had a couple people ask where I could get that, and normally in the past when people ask where they can get PBR gear, wouldn't really have an answer for them. But that you can get everything that we've got that's on the Prep Baseball website. So that's once again at shop.prepbaseball.com. Head over there and get your latest Prep Baseball merchandise. We'll move into our next topic. We've got once again a new segment we started this year, the Commitment Corner. We've got 5 guys today. Starting it off, Jackson Lambert, a right-handed pitcher from Spanish Fort. I think he came to our mobile summer ID this past summer. He committed to Heston Community College. Connor Kinney is another right-handed pitcher who attends Spain Park. Senior, committed to Millsaps. I saw him throw this past week at Orange Beach. Left-handed pitcher, outfielder, Blake Jackson from American Christian, who we got to see a good bit. I saw him throw Thursday night in some tough conditions against Gulf Shores. He committed to Wallace Dothan Community College. Miles Drew Johnson is a left-handed pitcher from Fairhope, who's committed to Huntington. And then rounding it out, Wesley Knight is a 2025 right-handed pitcher from Albertville. He committed to Snead State. So we've got 5 of those guys. Congrats to all 5 of those guys and their family. So we'll continue to roll through it. You can go ahead and tackle some of the content we've got coming out. So I'll turn it back to you.
Throw that comment up from Coach Perez there, man, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. Coach Perez says, thank you to the PBR team. We played 7 quality games and 2 PBR events. You guys are always first class. Appreciate your hard work and dedication to our sport. High school baseball is so back. Coach, man, we appreciate you and your team. Obviously, Coach is the head coach at Thompson High School. One of the premier programs in the state. Make no mistake about it. They played in our first 2 weekends. Battled some conditions. Again, played 7 games over 2 weekends. And I'm going to go ahead and just spill the beans. They've got more than just 2 arms, but those 2 arms at the top of that rotation are disgusting. And that's not all they've got. But, Coach, we appreciate you playing. Thank you so much, and best of luck moving forward. As Austin mentioned, we're going to go ahead and move down through. We're going to review the South Alabama Showdown. We're not going to go through all the scores like we did last week, but we're going to talk about a couple of the teams that really had success down there this past week. These are in no particular order. Daphne only played 2 games. They went 1-1. A good showing in 2 games. Hueytown, man. Hueytown went 2-2. And I told Coach Chandler after his last game on the field, I said, man, you do a phenomenal job. He does about as much with his team as anybody in the state. And that's no knock on any other coach in the state. But Coach Chandler, man, he coaches his guys up. Let's just be honest there. They went 2-2. The Jaguars of Spain Park could have very easily gone 4-0. They went 3-1, and a good bounce back weekend from the Kickoff Classic. And I guess now's a good time to say this again. You look at the likes of Spain Park, Hartselle, Thompson, Chelsea, and I could go on and on. But those 4 teams played in both of our events. And, we try not to be biased, but we also think that we had between the Kickoff Classic of 13 teams and the South Alabama Showdown of 20 teams, we had 33 quality opponents, 33 quality teams show up. So if you're in it, you're going to play quality competition. So great weekend for Spain Park. They sit at 3-1. American Christian Academy went 3-1 after losing a 1-run game on Thursday night in the bitter cold to Gulf Shores.
3-0.
That's right. Yeah, 3-0. I thought it was 1-0. That's right. Our man Woods threw the ball well for Gulf Shores. But ACA went 3-1, big time week for them. Thompson, the aforementioned the Warriors of Thompson, they also went 3-1. They lost a 1-run game to Saraland. The Spartans were able to come back from being down, I think, like 5-1. And let me go ahead and preface it. I was camped out at Orange Beach on Saturday, and I had 4 games there, and we got behind about an hour and a half, and I was like, who cares, man? Good weather, and that was 4 great baseball games. The first one went in extra innings. The second one was won in the bottom of the 7th. The third one went in extra innings. And then the 5th one was decided in the bottom of the 5th. Obviously, it played out the last 2 innings. But Thompson went 3-1.
I don't think there's any place that I'd want to have to be behind schedule than Orange Beach.
And let me tell you, I don't know if I've told you this, man, but the Orange Beach people were grilling out, tailgating all day long. They hooked me up with some hamburgers, pizza, So along with those facilities, and I know Coach
Mr.
Perez
Chandler got me hooked up.
What?
Mr. Chandler got me hooked up with a heater. He rolled out a heater into that section. So they treated me nice as well.
Amen. Amen. But yeah, those facilities are incredible, especially for a 4A school. The Dolphins of Gulf Shores, again, part of the host schools, they went 3-0 this week. Very good week for the Dolphins. Chelsea went 3-1. I think they went 1-2 last week, maybe. They rebounded with a 3-1 weekend. Orange Beach, the Makos went 2-1. Saraland, they did not play on Thursday. There were a couple games that did not go on Thursday, but Saraland only played one game, and they beat Thompson in that one-run extra inning affair. I think it was 9 innings. Tuscaloosa County, man, they went down and went 4-0. Big weekend there for Tuscaloosa County. Smith Station was 3-1 last week. I think they lost their last game in pretty intense game against Gulf Shores in the game that they lost to finish it up on Saturday night. And then St. Paul's, they went 1-1. So again, that's just some of the teams from this weekend that really impressed us at the South Alabama Showdown. A great week nonetheless, and we appreciate those teams coming down. I do want to mention real quick before we get into our content, our main content of this podcast. We've already mentioned this. The Small Town Showdown is this Friday, the February 28th, and Saturday, March the 1st. At Sand Mountain Park in Albertville. We have 14 high quality 1A through 3A programs coming to Albertville. It's going to be a very unique environment. All four of the fields are turf. We'll all be right there together. That's the games start on Friday at 4:30, and then again Saturday morning at 9:00. We'll be using all four fields. We are really, this is unique. For us, we're looking forward to it. This is going to be a great opportunity for maybe some players that might not normally get to play in an event of this caliber. Number one, the facility there is outstanding. Number two, they're going to be competing against other big time programs, 1A through 3. Again, we don't have a bad team coming to this event, much like our previous weekends we've already had. So really looking forward to that. On Thursday,
I've got that. I don't know if you have it. You running through the schedule?
No, go right ahead if you want me to, unless you want me to.
I've got I was going to roll through the teams we've got for the Small Town Showdown. We've got Bayshore Christian, Collinsville, Florala, Fife, Gordo, GW Long, Lauderdale County, Mars Hill Bible, Oakman, Prattville Christian, Summerton Christian, Thomasville, Vincent, and Whitesburg Christian.
Man.
And though I think most of those, a lot of those teams are ranked inside our top 10 in 1A, 3A.
And just off the top of my head, I know of at least 2 defending state champs that are in. That's just off the top of my head. Maybe another one as well. But yeah, so they'll be there Friday and Saturday. Looking forward to it. The weather, don't want to jinx it, like mentioning a no-hitter, but the weather Friday looks sunny and 63, and Saturday sunny and 65. So we hope that's the way. We hope that's the way it turns out, because we feel like we deserve it after the last 2 weekends having to move some games around. Let's talk real quick. This is content coming out this week, and after this, we'll get to our rankings. Content coming out this week on this podcast. Obviously, we've already talked about it. Soon, we'll be releasing our class polls in Power 25. Tomorrow, we'll be releasing the Mizuno Pitcher of the Week and the Mizuno Player of the Week. Thanks to all of those coaches that submitted players to be considered for Pitcher and Player of the Week. We will also be getting out our South Alabama Showdown Scout blog tomorrow. That is, some guys that stood out to us from this past weekend's event. So that's a lot of information. That's a lot of stuff going out tomorrow. On Wednesday, and just to reiterate, we'll be releasing our Diamond Notes for the week. And in case anybody forgot, our Diamond Notes are some guys that were submitted for Player or Pitcher of the Week that maybe they didn't get Pitcher or Player of the Week, but their stats, obviously, are indicative of being having a shout out or whatever you want to call it. So that's where we'll list some other guys that did not win Pitcher or Player of the Week, but are deserving of an honor. So that'll be on Wednesday, the Diamond Notes. On Thursday, we'll be releasing our preview for the Small Town Showdown, just like we've done for the Kickoff Classic and the South Alabama Showdown. And then every day and we every week when we get out to see games, we will have our weekly scout blog that will be updated a lot of times on a daily basis. We don't get out and see games every single day. I may be getting out later this afternoon to go see a game. When we do get out and see games, that normal weekly scout blog of players that stood out at games we see, we'll be publishing that. So I can't tell you when that's coming out. It might be tomorrow if we get to games today, or vice versa, or moving on. So again, and then be looking out for that Small Town Showdown coverage Friday through Saturday. As always, we'll be pumping some tweets out on our X account, and just getting information out there from that event. So looking forward to it. So that's what you can look for this week. Austin, you want to get us started in 1A, or do you want me to?
Yep, let's get started. I'll start off in 1A.
Can I go ahead and say something real quick? And we say this every single year. Okay. We are not just looking at records. Okay. And I want to put this out there. We are not just looking at records, because that would be the easy way to do it. Whoever has the most wins and least losses would go number one, then number two, number three, number four. It is very, very important to us who these teams are playing and who is throwing. I mean, we take that strength of schedule into account just as much as the wins and losses. Now, are wins and losses important? Absolutely they are. But a team that, and this is nothing towards anybody, but a team that schedules a bunch of cupcakes, and runs out to a 13-0 record and they haven't played anybody, versus a team that might have just front loaded their schedule with quality opponent after quality opponent after quality opponent, and they might be 8-5. Man, that 8-5 team is going to be prepared moving forward throughout the year. So, there is no perfect ranking system. There absolutely is not. This is all subjective. And you know what? In the reality of things, the playoff spots aren't determined by top 10s. It's what you do in those all-important area games. So, again, I want you to understand, because as we get into the larger classifications, you're going to see some guys with not great records that we've got ranked, but we know who they've played. And Austin made a great point to me last night as we were talking. It might be a school's fourth game in 2 days, and a team that beats them, it's their first game in 4 days, and they throw their number one. Well, where team A that's playing their fourth game in 2 days, they may be down to their number 6, 7, 8 arms. All of that is very important to us. We take that into account. So, Austin, unless you have anything to add to that, you can get us started in 1A.
Yep. Starting in 1A at number 10, making their way in there, the one new team inside the top 10 Class 1A this week. Billingsley is off to a 3-0 start. They debut at number 10. Brantley slides down one spot. They have yet to start their season. I think they get started here in the next couple of days. They are 0-0.
Can we say one more thing? And also, these records, the best way for us to get records is on Teams Game Changers. We try to get these records right. If we can't find them Game Changer, then there's other places that we can look and try to get them. So, these are the records that we see on Game Changer. We feel like we're pretty close to being right, but there may be one or two that we may be off on. So just letting you know that. Sorry, Austin, I'll be quiet.
Yeah. Sliding up 2 spots this week is Lynn. Lynn went 4-0 over the past week and a half. They started at number 10 last week. They move up to number 10. Also sliding up 2 spots is Leroy. Leroy had a really strong year last year in 1A. I think they got beat in the later rounds of the playoffs. They're off to a 4-0 start. They also slide up 2 spots from number 9 to number 7. Jumping up 1 spot this week is Fayetteville from 7 to 6. Fayetteville moving down from Class 2A last year. They've gotten off to on the right foot in Class 1A. They're 4-1 going into the second week of the season and come in at number 6 this week. At number 5 The Class 1A runner-up from last year, they jump up one spot after going 3-1 on the week. Millery drops down from 3 to 4, but that was more in part of what the team behind them did. That's why they dropped. That's why they dropped one spot. Millery went 4-1 on the week. They go to number 4. Jumping up 2 spots this week is Appalachian, one of the premier power programs in Class 1 over the last few years. Appalachian was off to a perfect 4-0 start. They jump up from number 5, so they jump up 2 spots to number 3 this week. And number 2 is Hackleburg, staying put at number 2 after a 4-0 start. And then staying at the top spot at number 1 is Florala. They're off to a 2-0 start. And we'll see them this upcoming week in the PBR, in the Prep Baseball Small Town Showdown. So excited to see them. That's how the top 10 shakes out this week in Class 1A. Looking at a few teams outside the top 10 to watch for that are just on the cusp of making their way into the top 10. Addison is 2-3. South Lamar is 0-0, have yet to play a game. Jacksonville Christian is off to a 2-0 start, and Coosa Christian is the one team that fell out of the top 10 this week. They are 0-4, but I think they played some larger classification schools. So that's how 1A shapes out. Let's go ahead and move on to Class 2A.
Yes, in Class 2A, we've got one new addition this week, and we'll get to them in just a minute. Dropping 2 spots, Tuscaloosa Academy. Again, you see that 0-4 record. Take that with a grain of salt because of the competition they're playing. Off the top of my head, I forget who they played. I want to say
played American Christian. I think
American Christian and Northridge, right? No.
Yeah, maybe Sipsey Valley too, I think.
Yes. Again, that's a 2A school playing 5, 6, 7A schools. Again, that record is a little bit deceiving. Decatur Heritage, they move up a spot. They still have not played a game. They are at 0-0. I believe they open up their season today. Here's our team that's making their entrance into the top 10 this week. That's St. Luke's Episcopal. They come in with the 2-1 record, and you wonder, how does St. Luke's Episcopal jump from the outside the top 10 to number 8? Well, they've played 3 games so far, and here's who they've played. They've played St. Michael Catholic, which they beat them. They also beat 7A Robertsdale and lost to 6A McGill-Tulane. So, again, there's that strength of schedule that we're talking about. Bayshore Christian stays the same at number 7. They're at 1-4. I think they've played Fairhope. They played some other perennial large school powers down in that Mobile area. Summerton Christian, they also stay put at number 6. They're 3-3 record. I know they split with Corner, played some other large schools. Pike Liberal, they drop a spot, and it's nothing they did. It's just, again, as you mentioned in 1A, Pike Lib, there's a team that behind them that just, we thought was impressive this week. Pike Lib drops a spot from 4 to 5. They come in with a 2-2 record. The Rebels of GW Long, who we will see this week at the Small Town Showdown, they come in with a record of 2-0. I believe they play Carroll tomorrow, so a chance to get to 3-0. Staying put at number 3, another team that we will see this weekend in the Small Town Showdown, Mars Hill Bible. They come in with a perfect record of 2-0, and they are still missing, I think, about 4 basketball players. Their basketball team is playing in the state semifinals tomorrow in Birmingham. They stay put at number 3. Really, the top 3 stay put. Vincent, and it was pretty much like this last year too. Vincent, a perfect 5-0 record. Again, we will see that. We will see that Vincent team this weekend in the Small Town Showdown. They're at 5-0. They stay put at number 2, and then Ayrton, the Purple Cats. They have a perfect record of 3-0, and they hold on to the top spot this week in 2A with a perfect 3-0 record. Some teams right outside the top 10. Red Bay was the lone team that dropped out from last week. They are at 0-2, but we know that's a Red Bay team made up of a lot of underclassmen for last year. And, I don't think there's any need to worry about them. They're going to be fine. Cottonwood is at 4-3. Donahoe has not played a game yet. Lindsay Lane Christian is at 1-1. The Bison of North Sand Mountains also at 1-1. Reeltown is at 2-2. Susan Moore at 2-1 with that big arm over there. Corbin Hamrick. Washington County's at 2-1. And then rounding us out right outside the top 10 is Cedar Bluff, a team that really, they keep rolling. They're going to find themselves inside the top 10. A lot of discussion about them this week. Cedar Bluff sits right outside the top 10 with a record of 5-1.
Jumping to Class 3A, we have our first new number 1 of the season.
Whoa.
Glenwood jumps Prattville Christian this week. We'll start at number 10. You've got TR Miller, who is the one team that makes their way back, who makes their debut in the Class 3A top 10 this week. They're off to a 3-1 start. Providence Christian holds serve at number 9. They played some larger classification schools. I know they played Auburn. They played Stanhope Elmore, some other teams as well. They're off to 2-3 starts. They put at number 9. Gordo and Thomasville follow suit at number 8 and number 7. Both of those teams are 0-3. Thomasville being last year's Class 3A state champion and Gordo being a powerhouse. We expect both those teams to continue to get better over the course of the season. They come in at number 7 and number 8. And number 6 is Lauderdale County. We'll see them this upcoming week in our small town showdown. They're 2-2. At number 5, another team who we'll see in our small town showdown. The Collinsville Panthers are off to a 4-0 start, getting their first action in Class 3A this year. And number 4 is St. James, who is a team I hope to see here in the next couple of days. St. James is also 4-0. They move up 3 spots this week. And number 3 is Piedmont. The Bulldogs are off to a 1-1 start. I think their one loss was to Oxford, one of the top 6A schools in the state. They come in at number 3. And number 2 is Prattville Christian, who, yes, is off to a 5-0 start, but they drop 1 spot, and it's got nothing to do with anything that Prattville Christian did. It's more of a testament to Glenwood. For those that don't know, Glenwood, obviously they've been a powerhouse AISA program here in my neck of the woods. They've won double-digit state championships at the AISA level. They make the move to the AHSAA this year, and they started off at number 2 last week. And all they've done in their first 2 games, they beat Central Phoenix City at Central Phoenix City, and then they turned around and beat Russell County. So those are 2 statement wins, and we kind of toyed with it last week, that number 1-2 spot, but we ultimately sided with Prattville Christian. Prattville Christian, we saw have one of our guys go see them this past week, saw Ethan Walls throw, and we'll see him again this week, but Glenwood, that was pretty loud from Glenwood to open up their AHSAA campaign. So that's nothing sliding Prattville Christian, just more of a testament to the big week by Glenwood.
I was sitting there covering a game down South Alabama, and I saw it come across on my game changer, and less than 10 seconds later, I got a text from you. Glenwood beat Central. And we've made it perfectly clear how we feel about Central and just their program. So, again, like Austin said, there's nothing against Prattville Christian. That win for Glenwood was as big as any win across the state in the first 10 days of the season.
Yep. Looking at some teams outside the top 10 in Class 3A, we'll start off at Colbert County. They're 0-1. Fife is 1-0. We'll see them this week in our small town showdown. Lee Scott Academy joins Glenwood as another team who moved up from the AISA ranks. They're off to a 2-3 start. Oakman is 4-4. We'll see them this week. Wicksburg is 2-1. JB Pennington is 2-1. Whitesburg Christian is another team that's in the field of the small town showdown. They're 0-3, and then Thorsby is 4-2. Off to a good start in the central part of the state. I think they beat Holtville this past week and have a 4-2 record. So that's how it shapes out in Class 3A. And I'll turn it back to you as we go to Class 4A.
Yep, we'll jump straight into 4A. There's not a lot of change here. There's a little bit. And I'll be honest with you. From 4A on up, man, we had a lot of struggles, especially Austin. I think 6A was the hardest for me. What was the hardest class for you? Yeah.
Easily 6A.
6A was the hardest for us. 7A, 4A, and I think 5A may have the deepest teams. So from here out, man, it took us hours upon hours to finally decide on what we wanted to do. But let's jumping to 4A. We've got one new team this week. We'll talk about them in just a minute. They debut at number 9, but staying put at number 10, the defending 5A state champions. They moved down to 4A this year. The Valley Cubs of Alexandria. They come in with a 5-1 record. They stay put at number 10. Op comes in at number 9. They were right outside the top 10 last week. They come in with a perfect 4-0 record. Etowah drops 4 spots from 4 to 8, and you see that record of 2-4. And again, just to rehash what we talked about, Etowah has lost a 1-run game to 6A Buckhorn. They beat a very impressive. They went over to the Mid-Mississippi Classic this weekend. A very impressive win, beating Northwest Rankin, one of Mississippi's best teams year in and year out. Lost to Brandon. I think Brandon's a top 5 or 6 team in Mississippi. They're number 2. Yep. They lost to Brandon, and then they lost to Starkville. So, again, quality of opponent we're discussing. We're talking about Trinity. They stay put at number 7, come in with a 2-1 record. Bibb County, they jump up a spot. They jump up 2 spots from 8 to 6. They come in with a record of 3-1. Bayside Academy, they move up from 6 to 5 with that 3-3 record. We obviously saw them this week. I don't want to continue to talk about that South Alabama showdown, but again, quality opponents. Bayside Academy comes in at number 3. The top part of that order can really swing it. Oak Grove, they make a huge jump from 9 to 4. I forget who it was, but we looked, and they played a bunch of big schools and lost to someone by 1 run. That was a lone loss.
Oak Grove they opened up. They beat John Carroll 9-0. They beat Corner 5-0. They beat Mortimer Jordan 3-2. Beat Calera 4-3, and then lost to Helena 5-4.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that 1 loss. So a really impressive start for Oak Grove. Again, they come in at number 4, make a big jump. Staying put, the top 3 stay put. The Makos of Orange Beach go 2-2. They were in 3 really good games this week. I know the one we got away from them was a rival game to Gulf Shores, but they come in at 2-2. Had some really good pitching outings this week. So the Makos stay put at number 3. Westbrook Christian continues to roll at 6-0 with the perfect record. And then the Tigers of Deschler, they stay put at number 1. They come in with a record of 5-0. So again, those top 2 teams, unblemished records as we move forward. A couple teams right outside. Tallahassee did drop out. They went 0-4, but they're still right outside the top 10. A team to keep an eye on. We have no questions that Tallahassee will get it rolling. Again, you don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction to February baseball games. The Tigers of Madison County come in with a 3-1 record. Their only loss was an extra inning affair to 6A Hazel Green. New Hope, they have gotten off to a 2-0 start. I think they've beaten Whitesburg Christian twice by 1 run. So New Hope comes in at 2-0. The Gators of Satsuma come in at 4-0. Westminster Christian is 0-3, but I think they played Huntsville, Marbury, and maybe Athens, somebody like that. I know they played some good teams. North Jackson, the Chiefs are 1-0. Houston Academy is at 3-3. Hamilton is at 2-2. Haleyville 3-3. And then Fayette County comes in with a record of 1-3, right outside that top 10. So that'll get us through 4A. I'll turn it back to you, Austin, for 5A.
We've got a new number 1 in Class 5A. Starting at the bottom at number 10, we've got 2 teams who replaced 2 teams from the preseason poll, and that is Headland starting off at number 10. Headland comes in. They start off the season with a 5-1 record. I think their 1 loss was to Ayrton. So they come in at number 10, making their debut. Also making their debut this week is Leeds. Leeds is off to a perfect 3-0 record and have beaten all 3 of their teams that they played pretty soundly. They're definitely a team to watch. At number 8 is Elmore County. Coach Dismukes has got them off to a 5-0 record. These next 8 teams, man. It's some of the, we talked about some of the depth in 5A, and it kind of starts around here at this 8th spot, starting with Elmore County and as well as Leeds and Headland. At number 7 is Mobile Christian. Mobile Christian went 2-3 on the opening week, but we know that they certainly passed the eye test. They have the talent where they're obviously going to be able to compete at a high level in Class 5A, but compete in a really tough area with 2 teams that are ahead of them in these top 10 polls that they'll have to beat out if they want to make the Class 5A playoffs this year. At number 6 is Marbury. The Bulldogs are off to a 6-1 start. I think you mentioned some of I think you said they beat Westminster Christian. They beat Mobile Christian.
Maybe
They've got arms.
Maybe
Beat Athens.
I think.
They've
Yeah.
got arms led by Jacob Driver, and they've got a bunch of seniors as well on that roster. At number 5, sliding down 3 spots for number 2 last week is St. Paul's Episcopal, and that may be a little bit too much. I don't know, looking at it. But they obviously competed in our South Alabama showdown against some really quality teams. They slide down to number 5. At number 4 is Madison Academy. You talked about Glenwood maybe having one of the biggest wins of the season in any classification, and I would probably put Madison Academy up there as well. Madison Academy took down Bob Jones this past week. And I think a game you were able to catch the back half of. Big statement win for Madison Academy. I think their one loss was to Coleman. At number 3, sliding down 2 spots after starting up the season. At number 1 is Faith Academy. Faith Academy is 4-2. I know they went over and played. They dropped a game to Baldwin County and then went over and had a good week in Mississippi playing. I think was that the same tournament, the Mid-Mississippi Classic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they played some quality teams over there. And then at number 2, sliding up 2 spots, a team who we had pegged as one of a clear favorite in Class 4A, bringing back a lot of arms is Springville. Springville's off to a really strong start. They are 4-0. So
they don't give up many. They don't give up many runs, man.
Yep, that's right. Led by Carter Samuelson on the mound, Alex Holland as well. And then at number 1, sliding up from 5 to number 1, the ACA Patriots. Got to see them. I saw them play 3 games this past week, and I would put their offensive lineup up against anybody. And we said that coming into the season, we know they're going to be able to swing it, going to be able to score runs. And kind of the only question mark for me, not a question mark, I just wanted to see how their pitching would shape out. And I was really impressed with how they threw the ball. Blake Jackson, who we talked about coming into Wallace Dothan, he's a quality low 80s left-handed pitcher. Jalen Crocker brings back a lot of innings. I think it's Blake Smith threw the ball well as well on Saturday. When I saw them throw. So those are 3 arms, and they've got other arms who came in and gave them some quality innings. And they're 8-1. They've beaten Oak Mountain. They've beaten Spain Park. They've beaten some big time teams. I think they beat Northridge as well. They've beaten some quality teams throughout the first nine games of the season, and obviously led by Eric Hines, who has 5 home runs in 9 games, and that's not all that they have in that lineup. So ACA going to be another team to watch in Class 5A this season.
They are 5A.
Yeah, they were. I didn't want to do it to you, but. They were number 1 in 4A last week. Now they're number 1 in 5A this week. Looking at some teams outside the top 10, there were a few teams who had a real chance who had a real case to make it inside the top 10. Starting it off, as we've got Lawrence, and this is in no particular order. Lawrence County is 5-2. Sardis is 2-2. Shelby County is 4-3 and went down and played some Mobile teams over this past week. Moody is 2-2. Valley is 7-0, coming off of a Final Four run last year. Valley continues to play really good baseball. Briarwood Christian is 1-4, but I know they played some higher classification teams this past week. Northside is 1-0. I think they're going to be a team to watch. They beat Gordo in their only game on opening week. Lincoln is 5-2. Alberta is 4-0 and have a big win over Orange Beach. Russellville and Holtville are the 2 teams to fall out of last week's rankings. Russellville is 3-3, while Holtville is 2-3. Both of those teams are perennial powerhouses with multiple state championships over the past few years, and would not be surprised to see them make their way back into the top 10 in Class 5A this year.
So now I get 6A, huh?
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah, well, 6A. Let me go ahead and say it, Austin. Is it? Well, okay, you've already put it up there. All right. So here's 6A. There's some changes, but there's some not so many changes. We'll get started. And again, man, this classification may be the toughest that we've ever had to work out. 6A. I mean, it feels like everybody's beating everybody up. And listen, I'll say this. I think for the large majority of 6A, especially inside our top 10. I think you could put teams in a hat and pull one out. I mean, you looking at this. I mean, Coleman could beat Chelsea. Chelsea could beat. I mean, it doesn't matter. These are 6A is deep. 6A is loaded. It's going to be interesting to follow this throughout the year. But let's go ahead and get started. We do have 3 new teams this week. The perennial state power Coleman Bearcats make their way in this week. They are 2-1. They debut at number 10. I know they beat that Madison Academy team that we just talked about and what we think of them. Their lone loss was this past Saturday to Hewitt Trustful, who you will see here in just a minute. When we get to 7A at number 9, the Patriots of Homewood, they drop a spot. Really nothing against them. They're at 3-1. Their lone loss was to Pelham. Speaking of Pelham, they debut there at number 8. Going 5-0, an impressive start for the Panthers. Coach Guy Howard in his first year there has the Panthers rolling. They did beat that was when they beat Homewood. It was like, hey, okay. And then they beat Mountain Brook as well. So two impressive wins for Pelham. But you mentioned it before, and I'm going to talk about it again. You look at 6A Area 7. There's 3 teams inside. There's 3 teams. No,
they're all ranked.
I'm sorry. All 4 of the teams from 6A Area 7 are ranked in the top 8 right now. That is just absolutely crazy. But Pelham comes in at number 8 at 5-0. Saraland. We talked about Saraland getting that big win over Thompson. Saraland went 1-0 this past week at the South Alabama Showdown. Overall, they're 4-1. They debut at number 7. That's where the Spartans are. Spain Park, man, they rebounded after a tough first weekend. But again, that is to be expected. Playing that caliber of team, and you're breaking in a ton of new starters. I think Spain Park lost like 13 seniors from a year ago. They have a lot of positional players and arms, young ones that they are riding with, and you can already see an improvement from week 1 to 2. They come in at 4-4.
Yeah, they're young, but they're talented young.
They are. Yes, they are. We are well aware of many of their youngsters. Dropping a few spots, the Yellow Jackets of Oxford. They come in at 3-3. Again, a brutal schedule to start the year. Listen, man, I could say the same thing about all 5 of these teams here, so I don't want to repeat myself. I'm just going to go through them best I can. Mountain Brook Spartans, they stay at number 3. They are at 3-1. We mentioned that one loss to Pelham. Helena jumps up from 5 to 3 with a 4-2 record. That's always a strong program in 6A, always competitive and always will get after you and compete against you. The top 2, man, we stayed the same. We toyed about swapping them. We toyed about moving someone else to the top spot. But we thought, you know what? This is really our first update of the year after our preseason poll. Let's just leave it here and let it play out, because really I didn't see, but we did not see anyone that just said, hey, we've got to be ranked number 1. I mean, it's just beating each other up in the 6A polls. So Chelsea, the Hornets, they went, they go 3-1 this week.
3-1.
Yeah. Chelsea went 3-1 this week after going 1-2 in the kickoff classic. They played Vestavia again. Again, there's that strength of schedule there at 4-4. And then the Tigers of Hartselle, they stay at 3-3. I'm sure they didn't finish how they wanted to at the South Alabama Showdown, but we know their body of work. We know who they've played. So they're going to hold on to that ranking heading into this week. Big weekend of games for a lot of these teams moving forward. The 3 teams that dropped out, Spanish Fort, the Toros, we saw them this week. They're at 2-4. And again, them falling out, don't let that fool you. I can tell you last year in the South Alabama Showdown, Spanish Fort didn't play really well, but you looked up 3 weeks later and here they are rolling. I'm certain that that's going to happen again this year. You mark my words there. Newton Gardner, man, saw him throw first time in 2 years, and he was good up to 90. Gardendale, they dropped out. They were number 9 last week. They're at 3-3. And Buckhorn also dropped out. They're at 1-3. They are in the outside the top 10. Those 3 teams, we're not just completely dropping them. They're in the outside the top 10. Some others that are right outside the top 10, Athens at 3-1. Benjamin Russell at 3-1. Gulf Shores, man, they had a case to be ranked. Just a very tough decision for us. Gulf Shores is at 4-2. We talked about their big win over ACA. Hueytown, I've already talked about Hueytown and how hard they play and how great of a job Coach Chandler does there at 5-3. Northridge is at 3-2. Stanhope Elmore is at 5-1. And then rounding out those on the outside of the top 10, Southside, they come in with a perfect record of 6-0. So obviously they're a team to watch moving forward into the next few weeks.
Jumping into Class 7A, our biggest classification in the state of Alabama, and then we'll get into our Power 25. We've got another new number one in Class 7A. Starting off at number 10 this week is Grissom, who is the lone team to make their debut inside the top 10. They replaced James Clemens. Grissom is off to a 5-0 start. They beat James Clemens twice to open up their season. They beat Gunnersville, they beat Gardendale, and then they beat Briarwood Christian to start off their season. So they jump in at number 10. At number 9 is Hillcrest Tuscaloosa. Last year's 6A state champs, competed in our kickoff classic. They went 1-2, got beat. They beat Spain Park and then got beat by Bob Jones and Hewitt Trussville. And then went over and played in Mississippi and had a strong showing over there. They're at 4-3. Enterprise is 4-0. They come in at number 8, sliding up 1 spot. At number 7 is Hoover, who slides down 2 spots. They went 2-1 at our prep baseball kickoff classic, and then went over and played in California and played the likes of Orange Lutheran, Mater Day, some other big time perennial.
The CIF league.
Yeah.
In California is probably the number 1 league in the country. They've won, the NHSI, the up in Cary, North Carolina. They've teams from there, I think, usually win it every year. Harvard, Westlake, all those teams. That is the premier league in the country. And kudos for Hoover to going out there and playing.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they just got. It was respect. Most of the games were close. So, and we got to see the Bucks, and we're impressed with them opening weekend. So Hoover comes in at number 7. They're at 2-5, but don't be fooled by that record. Staying put this week at number 6 is Fairhope. Fairhope goes 2-2. I think they went 1-2 in our South Alabama showdown. But definitely a team to watch. Probably one of the top teams in the southern part of the state. At number 5, making a big jump this week, and their record may not reflect, probably what you would think of a team for who is going to make a big jump. Moving up 5 spots is Vestavia Hills. They come in at 3-2. And I don't think you had been able to see Vestavia Hills this season, but I was able to see them a few times on the kickoff classic on Saturday. They started off their season. They played Helena, got beat 2-1, but that it was 1-1 throughout the whole game. And then I think Nick Peters hit a home run. They got beat by Central 10-8, and then turned around and beat Chelsea 10-0. And then they beat Chelsea 4-3 on Monday, and then they beat Helena 15-5. So after starting off 0-2, they're 3-0, beating some really good teams, and I would put their roster, their lineup up against anybody's. I think that they've got as much talent as anybody, and we'll see how it shapes out. But they jump up from 10-5 this week. At number 4 is Central Phoenix City, who is 6-2. Obviously, we talked about one of those losses came to Glenwood this past week. And then the other one coming in the kickoff classic on their last game on Friday to Chelsea. But they've also beaten Thompson. They've beaten Vestavia Hills. They've beaten Shaw and Northside, 2 teams from Georgia. And then they beat Calvary Christian, another team from Georgia. And then they beat Russell County. So they're off to a 6-2 start. And it looks like it's going to be the same old Central once again this year. Tough and competitive, play the game hard, and just grinders. At number 3 is Bob Jones this week, coming in with a 5-2 record. They dropped down from 1-3 this week, but obviously are still one of the top teams in Class 7A. They started off the season going 2-1 in our kickoff classic. They beat Hillcrest 12-0. They beat Thompson, and then they dropped the game to Hoover. And then on Monday they got beat by Madison Academy, like we talked about, and then they beat Huntsville, Ardmore, and Winfield over this past week. So they come in at 5-2. Thompson comes in at number 2 this week. They are 6-3. obviously we've talked about it, played in our Kickoff Classic and in our South Alabama Showdown. So they played 9 big-time teams in addition to the 2 teams they played in the midweek. In the Kickoff Classic, they went 1-2. They got beat by Central and Bob Jones, but then beat Spain Park. Turned around on Monday, beat Haralson County and Oxford. And then at the South Alabama Showdown, they beat UMS Wright, Spanish Fort, and Mobile Christian. And their one loss at the South Alabama Showdown came to Saraland, which they got beat 8-7. And I think you said that they were leading for the majority of the game, and Saraland kind of came back and walked it off. But a good week for Thompson, and so they come in at number 2 at 6-3, and then taking over the top spot is Hewitt-Trussville. The Huskies, the only team to go 3-0 in our Kickoff Classic. They kept the ship rolling this past week. I know they beat Coleman. They play anybody else outside of Coleman?
They played somebody in a doubleheader that Saturday. I forget who it was.
Yeah, but they're off to a 5-0 start. They're undefeated. The one of only 3 undefeated teams in Class 7A, and they've played some big-time teams. So the Huskies jump up from number 3 to number 1 this week, and sit at 5-0 atop of Class 7A. Looking at some teams outside of the top 10 in Class 7A this week, the lone team to drop out from last week's rankings is James Clemens. They come in at 2-3. Auburn is 4-2. Oak Mountain is 3-3. Sparkman is 4-1. Tuscaloosa County is 5-2. Mentioned James Clemens, and then Daphne is off to a good start. They're 6-1. So that rounds it out for Class 7A. That rounds it out for our top 10 polls. We'll go ahead and get into the first Alabama Power 25 of the year, and this is the all the teams we've gone through. This is ranking them 1 through 25, regardless of classification. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first Power 25 of the season. We'll start at the bottom. Wait for that graphic to load. At number 25 this week, we've got Auburn at 4-2. James Clemens is 2-3. They come in at number 24. At number 23 is Madison Academy with that big win over Bob Jones. They're at 23 at 4-1. Number 22 is Faith Academy, Class 5A team. They come in at 4-2. Tuscaloosa County, a team who had a really impressive week, especially at the South Alabama Showdown. And they are 5-2 and come in at number 21. Springville, the number 2 team in Class 5A, they're off to a 4-0 start. They come in at number 20. And number 19 is Saraland, who sits at 4-1. Grissom, who made their debut in Class 7A this week, they come in at number 18 and sit at 5-0. Spain Park is number 17 at 4-4. Hillcrest Tuscaloosa is 16 at 4-3. Number 15 is Oxford at 3-3. Enterprise is number 14. They are undefeated at 4-0. Glenwood, probably one of the highest lower classification teams we've had ranked in our Power 25 than what I can remember. The Gators come in at number 13, and they are 2-0. Obviously, like we mentioned, had big wins over Central Phoenix City and Russell County to kick off their season. Hoover is number 12. They are at 2-5. Fairhope is number 11 at 2-2. Number 10 is Mountain Brook at 3-1. Number 9 is Helena at 4-2. Number 8 is Chelsea at 4-4. Hartselle is at number 7 at 3-3. Number 6 is American Christian, and that's testament to how highly we think of American Christian. They are at number 6 and sit at 8-1. Vestavia Hills is number 5, and they sit at 3-2. Number 4 is Central Phoenix City. They sit at 6-2. Number 3 is Bob Jones. They sit at 5-2. And number 2 is Thompson, who is 6-3. And then number 1 in 7A and number 1 in the Power 25 poll, and that's Hewitt-Trussville. The Huskies take the top spot in the first Alabama Power 25 of the year. Mr. Bradford, good to see you this past week. Saw him at Orange Beach. Logan threw the ball well. I think Spain Park, I told you this. I think Spain Park's they're going to be fine. I think and we both know and respect Will Smith, and his teams are always tough, does a great job, and it was good to see the Jags this week and last week. So.
And they got some clean uniforms too. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yep.
I have not seen Spain Park once this week. I didn't get to see our man Jay Bradford or George Corey. So I've 2 weekends I've missed them. So
Yep.
yeah, so that'll wrap us up for our Power 25. Just a couple things moving forward. We'll wrap this show up. Again, we appreciate you jumping on. Our next podcast will be next Monday, a week from right now at 10 a.m., where we'll release our new rankings. Don't forget all of the content that we went over. Be looking out for that as we move forward during the week. And then in conclusion, anything that you want related to the AHSA baseball, everything that you need to keep you up to date, you can visit our website at prepbaseball.com/Alabama. Up on the black taskbar, there is an AHSAA icon that you can click on, and it'll pull up a menu for everything that you want to look at, scout blogs or diamond notes or players and pitchers of the week. All of that will be housed right under. It's a one-stop shop for you to keep up with high school baseball across the state of Alabama. So let's see here. Got a comment?
Oh,
Let's hope that Coach Looney brings us fried bologna. Is that bologna or bologna? Fried bologna at the Small Town Showdown. Yep. Let's hope he does. We look forward to seeing him. But again, we appreciate everyone jumping on. Big week ahead. Good weather finally. So get out and enjoy it. Go support your local team. Good luck to the players and coaches. Austin, you got anything to wrap us up?
I'm good.
Well, we appreciate it, and hopefully we see you sometime at the park this week. If not, right back here next Monday at 10 a.m. Have a good week. Thanks for joining us.